in there.
Perfect. Hello.
I got him.
I had quite a battle over on my side trying to get you in here.
I'm glad it works.
How is everyone tonight?
We're good.
Fantastic.
Okay. So, does everyone have their books?
Like
Yes.
physically?
Shit. No.
Okay.
I do not.
I haven't started yet. Go ahead and grab your book.
How many books you want us to pull out? I got them all.
Whichever ones you specifically want to
Yeah,
topic on.
I'm not at my house. I didn't get one. I'm sorry.
You remember what you wrote?
Vaguely.
How many books have you written?
2.
Can't be that hard. There's only 2. Come on now.
Same here. Yeah, it's a series, so there's more to come. Plenty.
You can tell us about it.
Oh yeah, you'll hear about it.
I actually had one person that they were asking singly. Each participant on the show was asking singly, "Can I go get my book? Can I go get my book?" And they were like running 1, 2, 3, 4, and it looked like the whole screen just kind of scattered. So I make sure that hopefully everyone has it. Otherwise, we can discuss it regardless. I promise you. Drew, I got you. Okay, you guys ready to get started?
Sure.
I'm ready.
Sure.
And thank you for being so patient and waiting for me to get everyone in here. That way we have total involvement and everyone gets to show off their beautiful books. I love it. Love it. Okay. Shake your hair. Get ready, guys.
I was actually reading my book when the camera came on. I was like, I really put that scene in this book? Well, damn, I can't use the second book.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. I am Opus Night, and you have entered Night Vision. Tonight, we have 4 authors, actually, technically 5 authors with us, joining us, and we are so excited. We had quite a conundrum getting everyone in, but we're all here, and we are so excited to start, and hopefully you enjoy the show and stick around. Okay, Drew.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about that beautiful book that you have.
The one that I don't have in my hand right now. Yeah,
this is why I purposely called you out.
Oh, it's all right. It's called Chrysalis, and it's the first entry to a series called A Perfect Order. And it's about a young woman, a 27-year-old woman named Juniper Appleblossom, and she's a hardcore opiate addict, or what used to be called drug addict back in the day. And she's living her life. She's a professional musician and a self-proclaimed rock star. And her best friend, Dr. Tuppence Buckingham, introduces her to a world of people that have powers. And I call them Mansings. It's my magic system. And it's very much set in the real world, just a few years ahead of where we are now in my home state of Arkansas. And in this world, there's demons, spirits, witches, no vampires, no shifters. Sorry. But and Juniper comes to find out that not only is she one of these empowered people called the Enlightened, but she discovers she's supposed to be one of the most powerful that's ever walked the earth. And so we got a chosen one thing going on. But in this case, this chosen one wants nothing to do with, the great politics and stuff of these secret societies. And she just kind of wants to live her own life. And but she's not the complete hesitant hero to the point where it's annoying, like the I don't want this, like kind of thing. Like she likes the power, and it's addictive. And her being a full blown addict, she kind of gets addicted to her own power. And it goes from there. We meet a cast of characters that represent these different orders around the world, and on we go. I don't want to really spoil anything.
I think you did beautiful. I love it.
All right. Fantastic.
Sounds wonderful.
I have a question. Is the the addiction to her powers, is that sort of an allegory to her addiction to drugs?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. It's but that's how she views it at first, but she's gets more addicted to the ability to, like, I know this sounds cheesy, but to help people. But she discovers that she's quite good at what she does. Like, her first powers, I call them mancing. So we got pyromancy, you got good old fire, right? That's always there. Ignimancy for lightning, and it goes on. She develops more abilities, which that's within the book of why she can gain so many. But yeah, it at first it's a complete rush when she first channels her powers. So that's what she originally kind of associates that with, is drugs good, power good, this feels good, I want to do it more. But but that's how it starts. That's the very bare bones, like, basic approach right at the very beginning. Yeah, good question.
Nice.
When
Very
you
interesting.
mentioned addiction, like I knew like that sounded sort of like an allegory with the drug addiction. So I was wondering if they were connected.
Yes, they are. Yeah, very much so. But the kind of little twist on it there is that she'll never be able to achieve her full strength as long as she's on these substances, because the enlightened are like elite athletes, and they have to take care of their bodies and eat, tons of calories and work out and stuff so that they can be a perfect vessel for their abilities. But with Jennifer's case, she's when you read the book, people are always commenting that she looks terrible. Like, she always has dark circles under her eyes and just is looking kind of haggard all the time. And she'll never be able to achieve her full strength as long as she's putting poisons and stuff into her body.
And everyone, that is Paul Hoon that was speaking, interjecting. So tell us about your book, love.
My first book is Outbreak of the Dark Day series. And you'll notice it's under my pen name, Christopher Cole. Basically, Outbreak is the first of a zombie apocalypse series. It focuses on a young boy named Sonny Daniels. And when you describe it, it's pretty basic and simple, where Sonny's just trying to protect his childhood friends, Ashley and Carrie, who are now orphans. And at first, he and his parents and Ashley and Carrie get to safety at Fort Drum, but that place gets attacked by bandits. But there's word that there's a safer place west in Denver, Colorado. So after a kind of a painful decision of sending their children away to a safe haven on an airplane, everything seems fine until that place gets overrun by zombies. So now Sonny, Ashley, and Carrie are now out in the zombie badlands, which is basically Denver, Colorado, until they come across a group of survivors. And basically the whole story is like, it sounds simple, where it's just people surviving, but it's more than that. It's about basically preserving their humanity, because when does humanity matter the most? When it's threatened. And that is most threatened when atrocities happen, because when catastrophe happens, people don't react to it very well, especially the mass public. I mean, look at COVID-19. Yeah.
No, they do not.
Exactly.
Not a point there.
Yeah. So while a lot of people acted savagely towards the outbreak, the story in Outbreak is mainly about how these people choose to keep their humanity and take care of each other and look after each other. And in a way, it's a coming of age story, because Sonny and his two friends they're kids, but they're kind of forced to grow up faster in a harsh environment in order to survive. Until there's actually an actual safe place, a fictional fort called Fort Gold Rush, which is in California. So, not to give too much spoilers, but Sonny has to make the decision of either to stay in Colorado and wait for his parents, and that's a big if they'll show up, because New York and Colorado, there's a big mileage between that. So he has to choose between the safety of his friends or to stay and be reunited with his parents. I don't want to give too much spoilers, and I'm afraid to talk about the second book. So
By all means.
well,
We can talk about the second one. Okay.
well,
Sorry.
well, the second book, basically, without too many spoilers, he does decide to go to Fort Gold Rush, which hence the title Sanctuary. And I've combined elements where the city's like a mix of San Francisco and Seattle. It's in Northern California. And the challenge there is once they get there, they realize they have to be the ones to protect it, because as the soldiers, they're not getting any younger. So they train a new army where they take young kids to train them to be soldiers. And that's where arguably readers think are their favorite new characters. Somebody comes across Grim Harvard. He's a vigilante who is sort of a mix between Dexter and Deadpool, except without the crude humor and all that. But basically, Grim, after his wife was murdered, he goes on a 10-year killing spree, killing like anyone that's evil, murderers, rapists, gang leaders, mob bosses, human traffickers, the worst of the worst. So when he meets Sonny, he decides to train him so that he could be like a capable survivor and a fighter. And the story is not only protecting this new home, but adapting to a new environment, a walled-in city. And
Very nice.
That's Sanctuary.
Very nice. I like it.
Thank you.
Brenda, Lori, introduce yourselves.
This is my husband Brendan.
Brendan, not Brenda.
Brenda, oh, it's Brendan. I am horrible.
He looks pretty handsome as a Brendan. Right?
I can't help it.
Oh
I'm
my God,
horrible with
trust me.
names. It's me. It's not you.
All right.
Brendan.
Go ahead, you start.
My first big book is Traveler's Song. And in order to tell you about this book, I have to tell you about this book.
Okay.
Okay. This is a cookbook I wrote. It's called Gatlin O'Hale's Fantastic Recipes from the Seven Kingdoms, taken from the greatest taverns, pubs, and inns. Now, there are recipes in this book, and I have been told by lots of people that it's really good. The food's great. But between the recipes and things, I put tidbits about manners and about things you should and shouldn't do. And then I put in stories of the adventurers as they went around the Seven Kingdoms finding all of these recipes.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that was it. That was all I was going to do. And then I kept going to these Renaissance festivals and these fairs and things. And after the 100th person came up to me and said, I like your food. They like the manners tips. But what happens to those guys? I said, okay, I'll write the book.
Yeah, so he says, hey, honey, you want to write a book with me? And I'm like, okay, I've been writing contemporary fiction. I haven't written fantasy, so this was all new for me. So, but it was fun. Yeah.
I think that's amazing.
People often ask when you're writing, and I don't know about you guys, but just from my point of view, when you're writing about men as a man, it's no problem. When it comes to writing a female and what she thinks and the way she's going to do things, I can't do it.
It was terrible. So I'm like, okay, sure, I'll write that perspective. But we he writes a little bit, I write a little bit, and then by the time we get finished with a scene, we've written it so much together that
Yeah.
It's hard to remember what part was his part and what part was my part that we wrote. But our book is it's set in like 4,000 years into the future. So
After there have been many cataclysmic events, nuclear wars, and the fallout from those things being the polar ice caps melting and things of that nature. So the landscape of Earth is different. It's still Earth, but it's just the landscape is different. Along with that, the evolution of other races has come about. So there are, elves, and there are dwarves, and there are, dragons and things of this nature.
Oh, okay.
Magic exists. There's in the way I've done it, there are two different schools of magic, two different ways. One is a hard magic, and you put this in and you do that way and you get X. Well, the other one is a soft magic where you put a little of this, a little of that, and you might get what you were looking for. You might not.
It's unpredictable.
Right.
Right.
But it's not like, I'm going to put butterfly wings and toadstools together and get a butterfly spurt. No, it's unpredictable. It's a soft school and a hard school as well. And there's a little technology and things that are coming in.
Very nice.
A little steampunk like. Our technology is more steampunkish than
That's awesome.
Very cool.
I like it.
It's an amazing concept. I love that.
Well, and we while we were writing this, we have all these little smaller, not as important characters, and we pulled those out, and we have what we call, and not really novellas or prequels, but we call them compendium books because they're in the same universe, but they're not necessarily the same part of the timeline. So we have a few little, so that way if we get this character and they want to go this way, we just, okay, hold on a minute, and then we give them their own little book later. So we've got 3 of those as well. Yeah.
I've got a central character that
he's in all of them.
He's all in all of them. He's the necromancer. He's the one who can make friends in a graveyard.
That is amazing. I love it.
Hey,
And I love graveyards.
my main character's grandfather is a necromancer.
Okay, Ren. I
Yes.
did that correctly, correct?
You did, yes.
I
Just
try,
like the
guys.
bird.
I try.
So I've got a duology. In Restless Dreams is the first one, and I Walk Alone is the follow-up. And it's a young adult contemporary fantasy. So it's about boarding school and bullies and fairies. So the premise of the book is that Sylvia, her mother has just attempted suicide, and the family is reeling, and she and her brother have been sent to live with their estranged father in New York. So she's in a whole new environment. She's without her support system. She's without her mother, who she's very, very close to because she's in treatment. And as she's trying to adapt to this school full of rich kids where she doesn't belong and she doesn't know how to fit in, on top of all of this, she discovers that the fairy courts are real, that there is a whole other world just a step away from our own. And unfortunately for her, she has the power to impact and change that world. So the people in it aren't so happy about that, and they're after her.
I like it. Definitely like it. Now,
Definitely has
guys,
a lot of layers.
say
I'm
that
sorry.
again.
I was going to say it definitely has a lot of layers.
It does, yeah, there's a lot going on.
Now, I'm going to ask a few questions, and I'm going to give each one of you the opportunity to jump in. But as you've already been doing, I love when there's total engagement. So by all means. Now, everyone, when you are creating characters, what is the first thing you put to paper? Brendan.
Brendan.
Oh boy.
Can I call you B?
Sure, it's okay. The first thing that I do when I'm coming up with a character in my head is I picture him or her, and then I put a name to it. And coming up with names, a lot of people have a lot of trouble naming their
I
characters.
have terrible time.
I don't have the first problem at all. I've got a character who, believe it or not, his initials are JBECM3. His name is Jean-Claude Baptiste Emmanuel Mallory III.
Nice.
See, it's the bees that get you every time. Bid, bid, bid. Right? That's my excuse.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
with it.
Oh, trust me, on this show, I have done it so many times, and I have a tendency to, like characters, I name people. It's just something I've done since I was a child. So
I have to get to know them first. I always usually focus more on their personality. What do they
Uh-huh.
like? Then what do they look like? And then I name them. Yeah.
I don't go off of the look. It's the vibe that I get from someone, and I
Yeah,
know it is the instantaneous meeting them and the personality that they reflect, that I believe they reflect. So, yeah. Paul, same question, Poslove.
Let's see. Usually when I come up with characters, I try to think of like, what purpose do they serve? Like for all my characters, like I try not to feel like they're not all left out. Like everyone has a part. Everyone has at least their own chapter where like they talk about something relevant, something that can either relate to the story or have a feel good moment in a way, or something that contributes to the other characters, be an influence in a way. So I think about that, like, is this character necessary? Should I pursue it? And then I think, all the other aspects, like, what personalities do they have? And Drew actually gave me some helpful tips on when it comes to characters, how you make them different. One of the ways you can do that is show how they react to certain situations. Like if something happens, some people are going to freak out. Other people are going to be calm. Some people are going to be angry real quick. Other people are going to be, more calm about it. But if you continue to push their buttons, then they're going to be angry. So I think about that. And then I think about eventually, like, what names will they have? Am I going to give them a full name or just a nickname? All that stuff. And then I think about, what's this character going to look like? Blonde, brunette, tattoo, scar, something to make them stand out in a way. Like, so that not everyone looks the same. They don't have to be completely different, but, like, I try to do enough where the readers can get a picture in their head.
Very nice. Ren?
I'm very plot centric. That's where everything starts for me. I often have sort of dreams or little like flashes of inspiration of a story. So I build my characters based on who do they need to be in order to sort of react to and bring that plot to life. So if there's, a point of failure, what flaws do they have that bring about that point of failure? Or if there's a huge success, what are the, positive parts of their character that can lead them to succeed where someone else might fail? So for instance, there was a scene in my original plot outline where Sylvia had a lot of conflict with another girl at school. And I was like, well, I don't want that trope of the mean girl who's mean for no reason. So what does Sylvia do that upsets her? So I gave Sylvia a temper, and that sort of helped them clash. And then that echoed out throughout the rest of the book and kind of altered and changed other plot elements as she sort of grew into herself. And this was someone who was struggling with this anger that she didn't know how to express because of all of these things going on in her life. So I really sort of start with a plot and then build out the character and then let the character kind of echo back and change the plot where it needs to.
I like that. Very nice. Drew?
Yes.
Hello.
I was listening. I got this little kitten here, and he
I saw.
his name's he's playing with his toys over there now. His name's Rogue.
Big Halo.
So well, okay, so in my universe, like the enlightened, the people that have these powers, their personalities are usually like quite strong. These are people, like, what they're doing is they're forcing changes onto their reality around them with just sheer willpower alone. And we we get into the second book, which is called Almagest, and discover that sorry, kitten attacking me again. Come here. Here, let me show you who this guy is. And that buys me time to think. This is Rose.
Oh,
Oh, kitty.
Kitty. So anyway, what that does is it leads to people having like very like powerful personalities. And it doesn't, you know, some of them, I've got one character named Mercuria who has anger management problems. Then her sister Amber is the one who kind of like calms things down through humor. Juniper, the protagonist, she wears her heart on her sleeve. But you were talking about like how we make characters to begin with, and I'm getting off on here in the left field. Man, so I'm kind of like you, Opus. Like I gotta go with the vibe at first, and what, you know, I strongly believe that you need to know your characters like they're real people, like they're your friends that you've known forever. Most people who are having a hard time writing a scene is because they haven't developed their characters enough yet. Like there's not that full realization, so they're missing some, you know, some holes to their personality to make was that?
I feel like it's the intimacy that I've never met anyone that I didn't like from I immediately. I when I meet someone, I go into immediate friend mode. And that was one thing that I was always taught, you know, as a child, that, you know, you act like a lady and you treat people how you want to be treated. And it's like an instantaneous response that I do and have always felt that, you know, I might have met someone once for 5 minutes, but down the line, I could see them and I will get a response back as though we had been friends for years. And in my mind, we have been. We pick up right where we left off. And I love that. You know, I am a people person.
Yeah. Oh no, I get it. Yeah. You know, with the creation process, it's like I had a villain and I ended up not liking his name anymore. So he got whacked, you know. So sometimes it can be, you know, like these deep, meaningful stuff. And then sometimes I'm like, I'm just tired of this guy. He needs to go. You know. but yeah, it's normally personalities. Like I'll look at, okay, what kind of person do I need in this, you know, this chemistry here, this alchemy that we're doing, to get the other characters like to respond, you know, and get more dialogue out of them and more events and stuff. It's like Paul was saying, you know, like when you're looking at different situations from different points of view, you know, one person's going to see it one way, another person's going to see it a completely different way. And, you know, humor is a lot like that too. It's like, well, you know, I found it funny. You might find it offensive, you know, or whatever, or not care. So, yeah. So with me, with my characters, it's what personality do I need? And then I try to create them from that. And then we'll play with it a little bit to see if they mesh with the rest of the team. And if they don't, then they might get filed away to use another time when they might fit better. Or, you know, I never delete anything that I write. I believe anything can be used at some point, even if it's an example of what not to do. So, but yeah, that's where I was sitting here thinking the whole time, because I hadn't really thought about that question before, and I think that's where I'm at with it. Yeah.
Okay.
That's one of the beauties of world building, in that we are building a world in our books, and you can build that world to be tightly focused, or you can build that world to be a really well thought out, well planned out world. And when we come up with characters that we're like, ooh, this would be really good, but that doesn't fit this story, but that's okay, I'll move him to another town.
Yeah.
Later on, you come to that guy or girl, or you're in a pet.
Definitely.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, definitely. You know, and that's part of the charm, I think, that writers have that kind of eludes a lot of people, because they will say, you know, the number one question I think posed to most writers, at least once in a lifetime, is how do you come up with your characters?
Mhm.
Once
And
we
Where'd you get your
there's not a
idea?
person that I've ever met that doesn't have some quirk, some, you know, beautiful attitude, some, you know, angry beaver kind of person. There's, you know, there's always something special developmentally, I think, with, you know, drawing a character out of someone, you know?
Yeah.
And so, Lori, on that note,
Yes, ma'am.
do you write the male characters or
I have,
does
yeah.
he?
In this particular book, he did most of the male characters, but in the compendium books we have, I've written some of the male characters there. Yeah.
Did you find it difficult?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I would ask him, does this really sound like something this character would say? You know, so we bounce that off of each other. So yeah, sometimes.
Now, Brendan, has she ever come up with a character where you're like, oh, no, 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 no. A guy's not this way.
No.
No?
No.
I am shocked. I think that is wonderful.
Drawing from personal experience, and we're not your normal couple. We've known each other since we were 12.
We're
Aw.
not normal, guys.
Oh, that's
Wow.
beautiful.
So we know who the other one's talking about. Okay, well, imagine this. Da-da-da-da-da. Oh, you mean Mary? Yeah, Mary. Okay.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, this guy is a really, really stringent in his ways and means, you mean Mike? Yeah, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
That is beautiful.
I have
Yeah.
another book.
Congratulations.
I have another book that has male and female points of view. And I remember one time emailing one of my male friends and being like, when you were a teenager, if you accidentally saw a girl's boobs, what words would be going through your head? Like, would you be saying, oh my God, boobs? Or would you be saying, oh my God,
Probably
breasts? Or like, what
Probably
is the
no
word?
words.
First off, you're stunned and your jaw drops.
Yeah.
Did I just see what I thought I saw? I did see what I thought I saw.
Did that just happen?
Am I awake?
I really see that.
Well, coming from having 3 brothers and like 7 male cousins, I can tell you that most of the time the first words out of their mouth is, go get such and such, go get him. He's got to see this. He's never going to believe this. Go get him. Guys, am I wrong?
Nope.
Well, I mean,
You
I
didn't
don't
see
wanna
it unless you
leave,
shared
like, you're gonna miss the show. It's
Now,
like, why would I call Paul? You know, it's like, hey, Paul. Oh,
Wow.
never mind, you missed it.
now, when you're structuring a story, how far do you dive into that story before you're like, you know what? I've structured it to death. I'm off and running. Let's get this going. Drew?
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, I tend to have like a pretty like skeletal outline, and then I have like what I call my mile markers, like very detailed scenes that in my mind, like I need this to play out, or I need this conversation to happen, and I'll write around an entire like just a few lines of dialogue sometimes, but yeah, like what I get those scenes done first, and then I connect them. You know, I just kind of weave them together, and that's how my process works. I know there's some people who outline it down to the nitty gritty, and I mean, I do have an outline. I have it outlined out to like 7 books, and we'll do more if there's still interest in them. But yeah, I tend to. I'm not like a pantser. Like I don't just go by the seat of my pants and improvise. Like I need direction. But I guess it comes from my background of like tabletop gaming and stuff like that. I have to improvise and think of things off the top of my head. And I've also done a little bit of theater and stuff in the past. So like improvisation's kind of, you know, one of my skills. And when I'm writing, I mean, y'all know sometimes you want characters to do a certain thing and they won't do it.
Yep.
You know, it's like, no, you're supposed to hate this person. They've really done you wrong. And it's like, no, I just, I'm just gonna let it go. I don't really care right now. you're like, oh, well, okay, well, we'll just keep going with the story then. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I got a general outline of what I know, like big events that I want to happen, and then I write my key scenes and chapters, and then we connect them, and that's how I tend to do things.
Okay. Now, Brandon and Lori, how about
You
you?
really want to have me answer this now?
No,
Yeah.
I'll answer this one.
Okay, you can start.
Well, he usually, with this one, he said, this is what the kind of big arching story I want. So I plot diagram. That's what I do. So I put the major scenes, and then he just starts writing. He might write close to the end, then he might finish a scene over here. And then I have to take them and organize them and move them around. And
I literally, when she said, okay, show me your plot. I was like, plot. I have a plot. I have scenes.
this is what I wanted to do. So
all these really cool scenes, but I don't know how to put them. I tell you what, I'm gonna write this down and you figure it out.
yeah.
I'm lucky in that I have someone who is as talented as she is at what she does to
Aw.
edit my stream of consciousness thought. There are times, and I'm not kidding, I'll have a 3-page sentence.
Boy,
he just
somebody
writes as he
beats me.
thinks, as he's
Somebody-
thinking out the scene in his head. He just writes it out and puts the dialogue in there. And I'm like, no, that doesn't go there, and I move it around. But I do. I don't outline every little thing, but I have like basically what Drew does. But I have I do it visually in a plot diagram because it's easier for me to see it as a picture than as an outline.
Very nice. Ren?
That gives me hives just thinking about having to reorganize it and not knowing where scenes go. Oh my God, I couldn't do it. I'm very much, I have an outline. I have every key scene written down in like, 1 sentence each. So it's very vague, but I know exactly where it's going. And then I write it in order, each scene one at a time, and sort of let it grow. I don't stick to it if it doesn't, I don't think it wants to go there anymore. I do let it sort of shift and grow, but most of the time I end up back where I intended to end things by the end of it. And it just sort of, progresses in that way. I think that's one of the reasons I don't edit as much as some people do. Like, people talk about second drafts and how much they hate them. I'm like, oh, I like second drafts. They're so breezy, because I do a lot of the editing as I go. Because every scene I read 3 or 4 or 5, 6 times and make sure that it's working and it's got everything that I want in it. Yeah, I'm very, very much a plotter.
Very nice. Paul?
Yeah.
Same as everyone else. I have an outline, but it's like an outline of major events that I know I want to happen. And then when I write the story, I try to transition it from one major event to the other. Transition it is kind of the hard part for me. But same thing, like I write everything down, like dialogue that I really like, and like certain ideas for events, so like I don't forget them. And then usually when I have an idea for a story and then I write an outline and then like I know how I want the story to end, then that's when I think like, yeah, let's do it. That's sort of what happened for Outbreak. Like, this idea came to my head and I wrote down the major events, and then I was like, all right, I want to do this. And I wrote a few other outlines. Like, there's a story that I co-wrote with another author, and we wrote the outline for that story, and that book recently came out and it's available on Amazon, and we're trying to get it into Barnes and Noble.
You want to plug it? Tell us what it is. What's the name, dear?
It's called Rising Together. It's by yours truly, Christopher Cole, and it's also by an author called Mackenzie Stark. That's her name. She writes mostly romance novels, but this story, it's about a boy and a girl. Tim is from a bad home environment. His parents abuse him, but he sort of fights bullies at school. He stands up for underdogs, whereas Hayes is a shy straight A bookworm who's a little too shy for her own good. So the story is basically how these two need each other in not only ways where like Hayes teaches Tim how to get his grades back up and Tim teaches her how to be brave. It's sort of like how they need each other emotionally, where it's like they feel that like life can't work without this other person.
Very nice.
Can I interject something real quick?
Of course.
Oh,
I know both Paul and Enzi, and to see they have very different writing styles, and to see them come together like this and write what they did, it's already got great ratings and reviews, and I'm proud of them both.
Yeah, good for you. Now, guys, is there any type of trope that you just will not write? You refuse to write?
Oh,
Somehow I think you want to go first.
God, I can't do romance.
No
I-
relationships of any kind?
I mean, of course, I'm married, but like, and I don't know. I just writing it, I feel so cheesy and stuff. And
Now, what about erotica? Do you have any kind of, if you can't write romance, how's the sex scenes work?
oh, I can write
Have
you
them,
some
do you avoid
erotica.
them?
That- I can write you some erotica, but but no, actually, my books are clean on that though. Like there's some heavy petting at one point, but I'm a fade to black kind of author, because I strongly considered that in the second book, but just the character Juniper is and the situation I was trying to put her in, she was just like, no. Like, this is not me. What are you doing? You know, and I sent that to my beta readers, and they were kind of like, oh, okay, if that's what you want to do. So, but I kind of thought about, like, you know, what kind of product I'm selling here and what I'm trying to represent with this story. Look, I have nothing, like, let me be clear, I have nothing against romance writers at all. You know, what talking about Stark and another woman with Kingston, Abby Hartwell, she's a good buddy of mine. And I respect the craft. Like, no disrespect at all. It's just something I can't do because I don't know. I just don't feel it genuinely, you know?
Yeah, that's me too. Like the third book of my zombie series, the characters are going to be young adults. They're getting older, so there's gonna be romance blossoming, and I can write romance, and that's actually what I asked Drew and some of the other authors. Like, I was skeptical about wondering, like, is it all right if I write erotic scenes? Like, how deeply do I go into it? Like, as far as a zombie action series, I've gotten pretty graphic with the violence. So, like, you know, our readers are going to expect me to be graphic with the sex. And then I was like,
yeah,
all right, are they going to like that? Or are they going to say, no, don't make this into a 50 Shades of Grey, which, you know, that's like, basically my trope is I can't write stories that I don't like. And one of those is like tragic, poetic romance stories. Like, if people like them, that's okay. They can write that, but it's just not me. Like certain stories that like are like 100% romance or 100% comedy or 100% whatever, like, I can't do. Like, I can have elements. You can have elements of that in your story, but like, just because a horror book has some comedy, that doesn't make it a comedy. You know what I mean? So like, like you can,
yeah, I agree.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you can have elements of that in any kind of story, but like, I can't do a 100% romance. Like, that's just not me. And like, same with Drew. Like, I respect that. Like if you're a romance writer, that's fine. You appeal to your audience. I'm going to appeal to mine. We're going to appeal to our own audience who likes our work.
Gotcha.
Well,
Kind of on the flip side is not every story needs romance or sex scene. It depends on the like Drew said, the characters, but also depends on the story. Like our Traveler Song has relationships. I wouldn't necessarily say they're romantic relationships, but it's a little bit of, there's friendship and stuff, but there's
And
no.
if there comes a time, and there probably will come a time for there to be a relationship of that nature,
Maybe.
I would be relying on you and your time and books that you've written in
Because I have
contemporary
written
fiction.
some contemporary fiction with some pretty steamy romance scenes. So
I would look at your ability to write those. Now, as far as writing combat and writing banter and all that good stuff, I'm there. That's my deal. Because hell, spending so much time in the desert in a truck full of guys where we have the banter back and forth during a firefight, it's a whole different animal than writing a romance.
Definitely, I gotcha.
I'm good as long as you never ask me to write a Western.
Don't worry, I would never ask you to write a Western. I might set things in a Western setting, but I won't ask you to write it.
In terms of tropes that I don't like or that I try to avoid, I read mostly young adults, and one of the tropes that drives me up the wall is that parents just vanish. That you get into an accident and suddenly there's these 15-year-olds running around the city and they're just like, their parents are never there and there's never an explanation for it, or they're just conveniently orphans. It's just, I hate it so much. So one of the things I really tried to do in this series was make her parents a presence without having them take over. That it's still very much her story, but that she's involved with her family. Her family's important to her, and that those relationships come up throughout the course of the books.
Very nice.
That was actually one of the annoying habit about Disney, like their movies.
They're all orphans.
Yeah, like either single parents or orphans, and it's just like, why? I mean, like
every
it's just
time.
like, dude, does Disney just not like parents? Like, there's better ways to teach kids how to be independent without making them orphans or just one parent.
Yeah, it's just a lazy way of giving the kids agency without having to explain why they have agency in a world where most kids don't have that much agency over their own lives.
You know, I'd like to say something real quick. I think readers are, you know, if they're gonna sense if your heart's not in it. You know, it's like if you're trying to force like a romance down their throat, like they're gonna be able to pick up on that. And I mean I'm like Paul. I mean my books are genre benders. I mean, it's filed away as urban fantasy, but you know, we got paranormal suspense, we got action and adventure, we got some comedy in there some places, and just, you know, the situations they end up in and the commentary and stuff. But you know, I think that like for say, like, well, I'll just speak to, you know, Paul and I, for example, you know, writing romance, it's if your heart's not in it, well then you know, I think I would be more scared of writing a caricature of it instead of characters. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I was working on a film script for a client, so I've been hired. So they had kind of come up with a lot of the stories, telling part of it, and there was a torture scene, and I cannot stand torture scenes. I hate watching them, and I had to write one, and it was the most excruciating thing that I have ever done in my life.
Oh man.
Yeah.
All right, and I have a question as far as what would you tell new writers? What type of advice would you give them regarding characters and writing characters?
Don't make them perfect.
Don't make them perfect. Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
Perfect characters are so boring, and they're everywhere, especially in fantasy and especially in urban fantasy. You just see these Mary Sues and Gary Stews running around, and it's boring.
Draw on what you know.
Mhm.
If you are a young or a starting writer, look around at the friends that you have. Look around at the people you went to school with. Look around at the people you work with. Take their personalities, absorb them, and use those histories, those ideas for the basis for your characters. You know those people better than you know something that you just came up with.
That is
In
true.
my opinion.
I agree.
And one of the advice that I would give is like, when writing a character, not only do you make it real, try to make it a character that readers are going to care about, because it is excruciatingly hard to read a story about a character that you don't care about. That's not just in books. That's in, like, for other things like movies, video games, series, whatever. If you don't care about this character, you're not going to continue the story. So if you...
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
My question is this. For all of you, have you ever written a character and brought them to life and colored them out and then killed them just to see if your readers were paying attention?
No, because I mean, well, when you say character, you talking like a full cast member or just like some dude? Like what?
Like
Well,
a
like
side character?
yeah, like a side character.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've done that. Yeah.
Yeah, not to give spoilers, but there's a real tearjerker in my first book where...
It makes sense that a zombie apocalypse type would have that kind of character that you get to know, you hear about, you learn about. What do you mean he's dead now? What happened?
Well,
Yeah.
actually, the tearjerker moment is, this is someone that a person just met. It's an innocent person who, you know, like got caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, and it's hard to explain, but once you read it, you'll know it at the moment. And it's like, when my dad read this scene, he actually shed a few tears, and I was like, wow, is it really that bad, Dad? And he's like, it tugged the heartstrings.
Is it that bad?
like not
How bad
bad
is
like
it
it's
bad?
horrible, but I mean,
Does it
like
hurt to
bad
read
like
this
it
book?
it hits the feels.
That's a beautiful thing. I love when that happens.
Can on the advice to new writers front, I would say, because I used to tutor college kids back in the day and creative writing, and I'd tell them, we can't edit anything that's in your head. Like we can talk about a story till we're blue in the face and go in circles, but until you start slapping down some words, we can't do anything. And I think what I've found is people get caught up in the rules of it, and oh, do I close my dialogue tag here, and is this, and like syntax and stuff like that. It's like, hey, we can fix all that later, or not even that far later. You can fix it tomorrow or something, but you've got to get it out of your head and not worry about, oh, is this good? Is this worth writing about? I mean, it's like a musician that, like you saying, oh, I want to write a song, but they won't go into the studio and just like start jamming, just to see what sounds good. So that, to answer your question, Opus, that would be my first bit of advice to a new writer.
I think that is awesome advice. Absolutely. Because if you don't try and get the story down, it's not going anywhere.
It'll drive you crazy.
You don't know if you're not giving it the wings to fly, like literally. And I think that's amazing. I love the way you put that. Now, I'm going to go down the list. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, write everything down, because like
you will forget.
The thing about writing it down, like it'll stay there, but in your head, you'll forget it.
Yeah, you think it's so great you'll remember. You won't.
You won't. You will not.
Now, who out of this group carries around any kind of recorder or carries around a notepad or, something? And I ask this loosely because at any given time, just like I have a very bad habit of with names and creating characters of different different people, period, I also will grab someone and immediately, can you write this down? And I'll start reciting something. I've done it for years. So on that note, now, Ren, do you have anything where you'll wake up in the middle of the night and you're trying to jot everything down? or do you wait till the next day?
Oh no, I'll definitely wake up at night and jot stuff down, but I do it on my cell phone.
Gotcha.
So it's all the notes function. It's the Google Drive for me. I'm very tech centric. So I'll grab my phone and I'll write things. I'll dim the screens. I don't wake up my husband who's sleeping next to me.
Lori, Brandon?
Well, he does his phone too. He'll text something. He'll text me something weird and I'll say, oh, writing note. Okay. And we'll just hang on to it. We'll text back and forth.
And where I
Or-
sit,
and
my
where he
computer, if I'm, messing around on the internet, I have a pad of paper and I have notes I write myself all the time.
Mhm.
Nice, very nice. And I get a lot of emails regarding this question. So I wanted to make sure before we closed that I posed the question.
But the thing is, if you write a lot of little pieces of paper, you got to not lose those too.
Yeah.
If you write it down, don't lose your
As
scrap.
you see, this is just the beginning. And this is all notation, different ideas and whatnot. And then I have them over here, and then I have a wall over here. And yeah, so it definitely is something that, like I said, I will ask someone if they have, a pen or a cell phone or something like that, which I always try. I try to have on me something. Does not always work.
Yeah.
It's just not possible. Trust me, it's not possible. Now, Paul, how about you?
Yeah, I usually just like type it down on the notes of my phone, or there's a microphone recording, so I'll like just say it.
Mhm.
Or if I got my laptop with me, usually like I have a document that I just write elements, and these are like either a full scene or just pieces of dialogue or whatnot, and I write it down, like thinking like I might know that I want this in my story later on, or just like something where it's like it's a good idea, so just write it down so don't forget it.
Nice. Drew?
Oh yeah, I had to learn the hard way that I will never remember everything.
I think we all have.
Yeah. I mean, and like Ren said, it can be like the most, like eureka, kind of moment. And if you
it's
don't write it
gone.
down, it's gone. I mean, I don't use the voice recordings as much as I used to, but I do just notepad on the phone. I mean, I can get to it fast and hammer down whatever is in my head, character names, quotes, whatever. I mean, sometimes I get inspiration for a new character, and but then I also learned the hard way to be a bit more specific on your notes.
Mhm.
Because I have like, I could go into my notes right now, and have y'all seen Constantine?
Yes.
Gavin Rosdale's a demon in it,
Mhm.
the lead singer of Bush, and I just wrote down Gavin Rosdale demon with a bunch of like question marks, and I go back to it like 2 days later, and I'm like, what? What? I mean, yeah, he was cool, but like, what are we doing here? Past me. So, yeah, I nothing fancy there. I've got a document called the idea board on my laptop, and that's where a lot of crazy stuff gets written, and then it makes it off the idea board into the manuscript itself. So nothing crazy here. Just notepad on the phone and notes in my computer.
Now, on that, what advice would you give your younger self if you could go back?
How many years?
Yeah.
Right?
You choose. What advice specifically regarding writing will make it a little bit easier? What have you learned, or what have you done along your writing journey
I would say
that you would want to know differently back
Yeah,
then, that you
I
thought
think-
differently?
I would tell my younger self to not listen to those that tell you can't do it, and just do it anyway. Because part of why it took me so long to start writing and actually publishing, I've written for my whole life, but to actually publish was not listening to people who told me I couldn't do it, and finally just getting brave and saying, screw you guys, I'm going to do it anyway. Just be brave enough to do it.
Screw you guys.
Great advice.
Right.
I would say to definitely save everything that you write in multiple places,
Yeah.
probably in
Oh,
multiple
God.
formats.
We've all been there.
Before-
Lost 30 pages of manuscript, lost a whole manuscript.
Before the
Oh.
cookbook and before Necromancer's Song, I wrote another book that is gone. It was called None of the Above. It was a nun from outer space. It was a cool idea, but it's just gone because I didn't save it in multiple formats.
Hmm.
I've got a little Darth Vader flash drive that's like, I'll send stuff to, like, forward it to myself and things like that. But my master one, though, if like the world were to end tomorrow, I still have my books on my little Vader 8 gigabyte hard drive.
Very nice. Now, guys, I have had a wonderful time. How can readers reach you?
Well, we're easy. We're the O'Garas. So our website is the-o'garas.com, and we're on all social media, and we're very easy to find. And we're on Amazon. All of our books right now are on Amazon.
Okay. And tell us those books. Now, the readers know what to look for.
Right. This is The Traveler's Song.
This is Gatlin Hills. There's also
We've got oodles. We've got 11 books between the two of us, but they're all on our website.
just go to the ogaras.com. You make it easy.
You got it. Ren?
I am so far the only Ren Handman in the world, which makes me really easy to track down. So my website is Ren Handman, and you can find both of these books up there. I'm also really active on Twitter, and I'm Ren Handman. And I'm active on Facebook, and I'm Ren Handman. So just Google my name, and you'll find me everywhere you can find an author.
I love it. Drew?
Yeah, so I'm the only Drew Kent's out there, like on Facebook and everything. But the best way to find me, I mean, I'm very active on Facebook, been growing my Instagram. Twitter's kind of I don't know, working on it. but anyway, but to get to me, linktree.com/that author Drew. And I go by that author Drew on most social media, but on Facebook, it's Drew Kent's KIENTZ. And the books, which I don't have mine, are Chrysalis, or also the A Perfect Order series. Book 1 is Chrysalis. That was my debut. Book 2 is called Almagest, like Ptolemy's Almagest. But the series is called A Perfect Order. It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, so on and so forth. It's quite easy to find. You just put in Kent's and Chrysalis. It's the first result that pops up.
Okay. Paul?
I'm not as active on Twitter, but I am active on Facebook. And sadly, there's more than one Christopher Cole out there. But for like Dark Days, Christopher Cole, then I'm very easy to find. But there's also a website called allauthor.com, and I'm on there, and that's where my books and some more information about me, my book awards, they're on there too. It's allauthor.com, ccole09. That's where I'm at, and basically you could find me on my books are available on Amazon, and these books are available on the Barnes & Noble website, so you can find them there as well, both paperback and ebook.
Okay. And everyone, I am Opus Knight at opusknight.com. And if you have any questions, readers or writers, or any suggestions for the show, please feel free to email me at any time. And if any of you would like to join us again, I thank you for participating in our show tonight, and I wish all of you a great success.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much. It's so fun.
Thank
It's nice
you.
to meet everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Have a great night, guys. Good night, readers. Have a beautiful night. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye bye.